Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the Waterman and D-Train Show.
The Constitution promises us freedom of speech.
Digitized live from Mac Computer Studio in Cape Coral, Florida.
Freedom of religion.
It's the Waterman and D-Train Show. We're 2 days late.
Liberty and pursuit.
And as you can tell, Dave is not here because Dave is out working again. But you know what? I can't hold that against Dave because for the last year and a half on this show, and the last 5.5 years of our relationship, I've been busting his balls about his inability to get a job and to maintain work. And now, technically, he's got 2 paying gigs, and so I'm not going to bust his balls. And the matter of the fact is that, well, we're not supposed to be doing a show tonight. It was supposed to be done Sunday, and because I canceled the show due to my work schedule, I can't bust his balls for not being here tonight. So tonight it is the Waterman D-Train Show featuring D-Train and Gordon. Gordon, how you doing?
I am doing fine, sir.
You know, we ended the show last week, kind of on a whim, but we were talking about your public persona, if you will, and your desire to have a fictitious name. Now, I'll be quite honest with you, I prefer you not have a fictitious name. Matter of fact, I've contemplated multiple times of getting rid of my fictitious name and just going by my name, Don Abernathy, but for the time being, I've kept D-Train. But maybe we'll throw that out to the audience. Should we give you a fictitious quote-unquote radio name? Should we make you stick with the name you have? You know, you kind of threw out Big G, and I didn't like that because, one, it was too close to Big B, the hip-hop artist. And both of you live in Vegas, so
Yeah,
that could be
that's
even more confusing.
Exactly.
I know Stan Haney used to call you G-Train just kind of as a joke of being my brother, and I don't think that really works too well. And so I don't know if we should just call you Gordon, Gordhead. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I will prefer to stay with Gordon, and I guess the trick is how to. I may have to trash that Big G Facebook deal and start
You
over.
can change the name.
I've tried.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, well, we'll have to walk through that later for sure.
Yeah, because I've changed my name on mine. Well, I was going to, then I changed it back. But I changed my name on my Twitter page. I changed my name on my Instagram. I basically changed my name everywhere except for here and this. And but yeah, we'll get to that. Maybe you know, if you're tuning in and you're hanging out with us, you have some suggestions for what we should call Gordon. If we should call him anything other than Gordon, throw that up in the chat. If you like just calling him Gordon. You know, is that kind of a thing in the past, the radio name thing?
I think it is. I mean, when I went to broadcasting school, I actually went by my first and middle name, so it would have been Gordon David, which unfortunately is a throwback to me getting yelled at by Mom.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, come on. When we got in trouble, it was all 3 names, right?
Yep.
And then you knew it was time to hightail it and hide.
Well,
And
that's
then-
if she was calling you by the right name, because Mom's actually watching right now, and sometimes she would call me Gordon and you Donnie, or on a real bad name, she'd call me Lisa. I gotta figure that one out.
and she calls Lucian one of our names constantly. It's funny. I guess we all are just kind of the same, but different.
Yep. I went on a bike ride tonight just to get right into it. I went on a bike ride, and I knew down the street from where I'm at there was a nature preserve, and I'd seen people jogging in and out of there, and so I went on a little adventure, and I went down there for a bike ride, and I stopped and I rode my bike back there. First and foremost, the name of this preserve is Yellow Fever Creek Preserve. Now, nothing says welcome to the great outdoors than naming your preserve Yellow Fever.
Would you like some yellow fever today?
Why don't we just call it Dingy Fever or Malaria Avenue?
Or your life's going to suck?
Now, Now, you and I, we used to ride single track in Ohio. And granted, we never really paid much attention to our surroundings because other than deer, we never really thought about what potential dangers could be out there. But as I'm riding through this field, I mean, because basically all this is it's a nature preserve where someone took a bush hog and just made a path. It's not sand, it's not a beaten down single track. For the most part, it's just grass that's been mowed, and the rest of it's weeds and the palm trees and the mangroves. And so a lot of it's field and a lot of it's real dense weeds. And I'm riding through there, and I said, no, got this weird sense. So I took out my earbuds, right? Because I'm thinking, I'm in panther territory. I mean, I've seen coyotes running through my neighborhood, and I've seen videos most recently at other nature preserves where there's huge, giant, Florida panthers or cougars, whatever you want to call them, running around. And it's about 6:30, getting close to dusk, and so I'm thinking, if I'm going to get stalked by a large mammal, I want to hear it coming. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I took off my earbuds. Now didn't have any sort of weapon on me. Riding a bike with a concealed firearm may be something I have to look into the future, but I got to figure out a way to conceal it, but in a manner in which I can still draw it if I do get dismounted by a large mammal. Having it in a book bag I don't think will work. Having it in the waistband, front, back, side, left, or right. When riding a bike, it's going to show. So I don't know if maybe just a large pocket knife is the way to go. So when I'm riding back there, maybe I'm being paranoid. I don't know. Is it a little paranoid to think that possibly I might get dismounted? I mean, because it happened not too long ago in the news.
It's not unreasonable. And a lot of my mountain biking actually was up in Montana, where we did have cougars, we did have grizzly bear, black bear, and other assortment of animals to contend with, so to speak. So I think being armed is not a bad idea. Maybe get some bear spray. I'm sure it'd work on a cougar quite well. Or pick up, there's a company out there that makes backpacks that you can conceal, and you should just pull it around real quick, and pull your firearm out. But it's a smart thing to think about.
What I'm getting at, though, is now I've talked to runners who've done some trail running, and they say, cougars and, bears, they really don't mess with humans. But in my mind, yes, panthers and cougars are probably used to seeing people walking around. But much like a cat, because that's what they are, I'm thinking me being on a large bicycle, traveling at a faster, smoother pace than a jogger or a runner, may be a little more of a curiosity factor to them. Not that they want to kill me, but hey, what's that? That looks fun. It's the equivalent of a laser pointer or one of those remote control mouse. And once again, I'm not concerned with seeing a panther coming down the trail. I'm worried about one jumping up and dismounting me from behind, just pouncing on me like a cat would pounce on anything else. Unfortunately, this is a 230-pound cat with the big-ass claws, and so once again, if the firearm's in a book bag and this thing attacks me from behind, how am I going to unzip the book bag, reach and get the firearm, unholster the firearm, and then shoot the damn thing?
A couple things to remember. They see you way more than you see them. Number two, if you do get attacked, take that big-ass mitt you call a hand and shove it down its throat, because what do
Pull
cats
the tongue
hate?
out?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about gouging the eyes, but then that's why I was also wondering, maybe a pocket knife would be more suitable, because then if I could get it in a headlock, I could just go for the jugular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would a pocket knife be easier to pull out and open up a butterfly knife and then defend myself? Would that be easier than trying to draw the firearm and then shooting it?
Possibly. Does the state of Florida allow switchblades?
I don't know, but I do have a big-ass K-bar. I can put on a belt and just ride with my K-bar. I mean, if it's good enough for killing Japs in 1942, it's good enough for killing cougars in 2019.
Yep. Yeah, you'll be that big-ass creepy guy with the K-bar hanging on his hip when he's riding.
Hey, I'll just look like a poor boy's version of Jax from Sons of Anarchy, because that's the same knife he carried, except for instead of a motorcycle, I got my big-ass Schwinn. It's the same size of his Harley, just minus the motor. And speaking of... Go ahead.
Who's this goofy mofo trying to be Jax on a bicycle?
And speaking of K-Bar, they just hit 100,000 followers on their Instagram page, and what got them there was a post they put up 3 days ago where they took a picture of the knife. Instead of having, it says K-Bar on the hilt of the blade on one side like it always does, but instead of saying USMC on the other side, it said USSF for United States Space Force. And it said they are now the official knife of the United States Space Force. And that got so much attention, it actually blew their Instagram page up.
That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. So I got something for you today.
Sure, go ahead.
You're not a stranger to pig farms, right?
Big Pharma?
Pig farms.
Oh, pig farms, no. Speaking of Mom, and when she had that house on the river, across the river was a pig farm. And on a nice windy day, you get a nice smell of it that would blow across the river. And also, when I used to build ambulances, there was a pig farmer who worked there. And, God, he came in stinking. That is just an odor you cannot get out of your clothes, out of your car, out of your hair. If you are a pig farmer and you're not on the pig farm, you're out amongst society, people know you're a goddamn pig farmer.
Yes, and so something happened to me this morning on the way to work. I decided to stop by the local Maverick,
Mm-hmm.
and Maverick's kind of like a Wawa, about the same size.
Okay, we got a Wawa down here, so that computes.
Okay, so I'm walking in. I noticed the doors are open. As soon as I stepped in, it was the smell of all that pig farm air condensed into the space of a convenience store or gas station. Oh, it was bad. I mean, everybody was tearing up. And I walked up. I'm like, what happened here? He goes, there's a homeless guy. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This guy smelled so bad. I was like, how long was he here? He goes, oh, a half hour ago.
Oh, jeez. You can't delouse a store either.
Can't delouse it. And it was not the smell of, it was like the smell of feces and bacterial infection. It was god awful.
That's insane.
And it would have been a great story for Dave.
Largest,
but the man's got to work.
that's not pig farm. That's Famunda cheese just rotting in the sun. That's what that is.
Yeah, it was. I've never experienced, and we got homeless people falling out of the bushes here, and I've never experienced a smell like that.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, a lot of. Speaking of riding bikes through the woods, a lot of our homeless around here, they live in the small wooded plots off the main drag. Hey, give us a call, 386-444-2775. Let us know what you got going on tonight. It is a Tuesday. Once again, we are making up for Sunday's show. The proposal was put up to do it tomorrow. And I didn't want to do it tomorrow for two reasons. One, we're going to be doing another show on Sunday. So to have a show on Wednesday and have a show on Sunday, that's cramming a lot of information together. Two, the person who made this proposal also made the proposal that we do a show on Tuesday, and then also agreed to do the show on Monday, and here we are. And so Gordon, he is a man of passion, and he is a man of logistics, and he plans out his whole week in advance. And so when we didn't do the show on Sunday, he agreed to do it yesterday, but then when I said we couldn't do it yesterday, he was kind of put in a hard spot, because he had already swapped his days around and he already had plans for today. So he quickly took his Tuesday's plans and moved them to Monday, and I didn't want to go after him and say, okay, now you need to move your Wednesday plans to Tuesday. So he is the VIP for the week. And so I was like, the hell with it. We'll just do the show. And I went ahead and planned. We got a guest coming on next week. We'll get to that next week. And so that ought to be fun. We'll have a little guest on the show as well. But give us a call, 386-444-2775. And for those of you, earlier this week we got the new inventory of the Waterman and D-Train show 3-inch super extra small decals, as some of our fans love to call them. They're free. Full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, they're small because they cost $60 for 50 of them. So if the small ones are costing me $50 for 60 of them, you can imagine what the larger ones would cost. And as Gordon, Dave, and I have discussed off air, the reason we don't offer these stickers up for sale is because in order to sell something such as a sticker, you have to mark it up so that A, it pays back the initial investment, and B, earns at least half of restocking fees for the future, so that you're not making a profit, but you want the decal or the sticker or the product to at least make enough money to pay for itself and then restock itself, so that you're not continuously moving money around and paying out of pocket, trying to get the money back to refinance yourself. So you at least need to charge enough for the sticker to pay for itself and to pay for the restocking of oneself. Now that's not the problem. The problem is then you got to put in the price of stamps. You got to put a price on envelopes. You got to put in the price of somebody mailing all that shit out. And once you add all that up, no one's going to want to pay that price for these stickers. I get that, so I'm not even trying. So look, yes, they are super extra small. Great. If you want one, I'm happy to send one out. They're free. Send us an email at d-410.com. That's info@d-410.com. Just do me the favor. If you get the sticker and I send it to you free, don't bitch about how small they are. Please, just do me that one favor, because that's like a kick in the nuts. I mean, we have one advertiser on this show. We sure as shit ain't making enough money to pay any of us. Right now, the advertiser is paying for some of the services, such as the streaming service and some of the advertising stuff. And so, if I send you a free sticker, just say thanks. Not, it's too fucking small. But anyhow.
So, I put up a
well, hold on. While I'm on the sticker thing, the reason I'm bringing that up, Michael sent me an email. Your sticker's on the way. Who else here? David, your sticker is on the way. The gentleman who hit me up on Instagram but doesn't have a real name but lives in Texas, your sticker is on the way. My sister, your sticker is on the way. Sadly enough, she had to give me her address. Adriano, your sticker is on the way. Anybody else wants a sticker? Send me an email to info@d-410.com. I will happily send you a free, super extra small, super tiny, no one can read it from a distance sticker. As you were saying?
On Saturday, and I do make an apology, I was auto-corrected in an erroneous way. I put up a poll, and we have no affiliations with these restaurants. What do you prefer, In-N-Out? And it did come out as In and Out instead of In and Out. Or Five Guys. Now, I haven't said what I prefer. So the votes are in with 22 votes total. 8 for In-N-Out and 14 for Five Guys. And to be quite honest, I have put my hat, the day I did the poll, I knew what I wanted. I knew what it was, and it was actually Five Guys.
Well, that's an interesting vote because there's no way in hell In-N-Out would have won. Because with the exception of you, Dave's lifelong friend, and maybe 3 other people who listen to the show live on the West Coast and have regular access to an In-N-Out. A few of the people who did vote for In-N-Out, obviously they've been out there on vacation. But we do have Five Guys out the wazoo here. So it's by no surprise that Five Guys won. But with that being said, and I kind of know where you're going, In-N-Out's good. But I think the thing they have going for them, which Five Guys matches, which pretty much levels the playing field, was the fresh cut on-site French fries. Because that was the thing that separated In-N-Out from the McDonald's, the Wendy's, the Jack and the Cracks and all that. But Five Guys does the same thing. They order in potatoes every morning, they peel them, they make them fresh on site, and they fry them up. So that was your great equalizer with that vote.
Exactly. And also, one of my big things with Five Guys is just your assortment of toppings. Now, you do have, and I don't know if you experienced animal style at In-N-Out.
No, I'm a simple man with simple needs. I forget the name of the place. There was a place in La Habra, California we went to lunch, and it was a small mom and pop diner that, in my opinion, put In-N-Out in the ground.
And usually those are the best places, is that small hole in the wall.
There is one here. They actually have 2, maybe 3 stores now. They're called Burger Q. The original one opened in this little hole in the wall on 41 next to Fort Myers, Lee County Health, the hospital anyhow. It's a little tiny, has a cool little beer garden. Then they opened one up on McGregor, and they may have a third one. But here in town, in Fort Myers, I would tell people to go to Burger Q if they're looking for a small chain, boutique-style hamburger. Yeah.
And I'm with you on that. And it looks like they've actually voted to raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour here.
Well,
so that means
you're going to get a lot more McDonald's-style order-it-yourself kiosk in the lobby.
Well, they're already ubiquitous. They're everywhere. But that being said, as I know that I'm going to sound like the bad corporate guy here, but at the end of the day, you raise minimum wage, it's going to increase the price of that product, and that will get passed down, thus erasing the minimum wage and putting the squeeze on the middle class.
Well, that's because you're all greedy. No, it's called overhead, okay? A job only has the ability to produce so much money. You got to pay for the fries. You got to pay for the overhead. You got to pay for the hamburgers, the electricity, the liability insurance, the uniforms, all blah, 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 blah. And so in order for the operating cost to be met, a job has a ceiling. And I've tweeted this. Look, a minimum wage job is supposed to be a stepping stone, not a cornerstone. It is a job, not a career.
Amen, brother.
There's nothing. Hey, I worked at Wendy's. Gordon worked at Wendy's. Gordon worked at McDonald's. I worked at Pizza Hut. I worked at Little Caesars back when they delivered before they had the $5 pizza. I worked at a place called Italian Oven. So did Gordon. I've fertilized lawns. I've sold women's swimwear. I've sold TVs, computers. I've done it all. None of those are career jobs. Those are all jobs you get to learn how to do jobs. And by the way, let's not overlook the importance of a minimum wage entry-level job, particularly fast food. Granted, I would hope that you're working that job when you're a high schooler, not in your 40s, but if you are, hey, at least you're making a goddamn paycheck, so props to you there. But what you learn working at a fast food restaurant, A, you learn about multitasking. B, you learn how to expedite and how to troubleshoot. C, more importantly, you learn how to clean up after others and yourself. You know, when you're 19, 20, you get your first apartment, and you used to work at a Wendy's, you used to work at a McDonald's, and you had the unfortunate job of cleaning the women's restroom every night. Guess what? Cleaning your own shitter on a Saturday isn't that bad after cleaning a bathroom after 2,000 women have been in it looking like they're celebrating New Year's Eve every goddamn night. Ladies, what are you doing in the bathroom with the toilet paper? Why does it look like either a New Year's Eve festival or the fall of the stock market with ticker tape all over the place? The freaking restroom and the little chunks of toilet paper is insane. But if you're cleaning up that every night, or at least 5 nights a week, because that's part of your job, because that's what I did. Ohio, if you're a minor in Ohio, you had to go home at 11 o'clock. And guess who knew that? The miners. So do you think they busted their ass to get their jobs done before 11? No, they dragged ass because they knew they had to leave at 11 regardless. Now,
and 11 came around, it was just a big puff of smoke, and they were nowhere to be seen.
And who was left? Me, another guy, and the manager, because I was 18 years old, my senior year in high school, so I had to stay until 2 in the morning, finish closing up. I had to clean the bathroom, scrub the floors, squeegee the floors, mop the floors, do all that bullshit. But guess what? It taught me that cleaning my own house 1 day a week isn't that bad compared to cleaning a goddamn Wendy's from the ground up 5 nights a week after people have tromped through there, spilled shit. The women celebrate New Year's Eve in the bathroom every night. The horrible, horrible things that happen in the men's room on a daily basis. All those things.
Although I tell you what, the women's restroom, how the hell does a woman miss a toilet? That happened a lot too.
The hover method.
It's got to be.
Some ladies don't trust the ass gasket, so they hover. And as you're hovering, now keep in mind this is back in the 90s. They're hovering with both hands, but now they're hovering with a cell phone in their hand, so that's even worse. And so there's spattle and spray and all that shit.
I was wondering if they were releasing before they actually got down.
That too, but back to Gordon's whole point. These jobs have ceilings. They have overhead. And so when you raise the minimum wage up, do you think the owners are going to eat that cost? No. They have to raise the price of the food or the services or whatever.
And that's part of it. The argument you hear is all the CEOs, blah, 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 bonuses. You know what? That is the benefit of being a CEO.
It's not a benefit. No.
And they ask, they also say, well, what are these other jobs are out there for these people to do? Construction, skilled trades. There is a hole in our skilled trade area where nobody wants to work the job.
And you're not just talking about guys. A few years back, I was reading Reader's Digest. I used to read it all the time when that computers was running out of my dad's house and I was in the bathroom. I had access to their subscription Reader's Digest. They did a digested version of a story where a reporter was talking to the only fashion designer who had her clothes designed, created, and made in the city of New York in the United States. Now, when I say made, I mean they talking about the actual crap. What I call you the other day, Gordon? Hashtag I don't own a oh crap.
Oh man, it just slipped my mind.
I was just talking about this 20 minutes ago. Anyhow, she actually had the fabric and everything cut, sewn, designed there in New York in the garment district. She was the only one. Everybody else, all the designers, their shit's made over in China. Their shit's made over in Korea. But she actually had her garments made in New York, and they were very expensive. And the reporter tried to catch her in what she thought was a gotcha moment. She was walking around, and she said, I can't help but to notice that all of your seamstress and all your employees are either Hispanic or Asians. Is that because you can get away with paying them less? To which the designer said, no. That's because American women don't know how to sew. We got rid of home economics in school. We are not teaching American students how to sew. So yes, the Asians still know how to sew. The Hispanic women still know how to operate a sewing machine. Therefore, that is why I employ them. So when Gordon says get skilled labor, we're not just talking about dudes. There's skilled labor out there for women that have long since died off too.
And they are more than welcomed into the trades.
Yeah. And people always say, well, we don't make anything in the United States anymore. Well, that's because no one knows how to do anything anymore.
We are a nation of consumers and consumers only. We just want to look at a screen all day long. Want the unfortunately the and I'm one with a bad attention span, but I've learned how to handle that. But the attention span's so short. If it's more than 10 minutes, man, we had this guy in. He was 20 something years old, and I couldn't keep him off his phone. It was insane. I'm like, dude, you're paid to be productive.
It's like Dad says. It seems like nowadays access to a cell phone at work and at school has now become a civil liberty. An employer cannot tell their people to stay off their phones, and teachers can't keep them out of the kids' hands.
Yeah, it's insane, and I think that's the biggest problem facing our mental health and everything else. But that leads down a different road, different subject for a different time.
Back in my day, we weren't allowed to have pagers in school. I had to cut a hole inside my pant pocket so that I could wear my pager inside my pocket so the teacher wouldn't see the clip and take my pager away. Now, I will say with becoming a father at the age of 17, my senior year of school, that was a good excuse for having a pager because I had a baby. But before the baby came along, it was so weird. Remember when, back in our day, if you weren't a doctor and a lawyer, you had a pager, what everybody thought you were?
Yeah, drug dealer.
What do you have a pager for? Are you a drug dealer? No, it's new technology and we're kids.
And it looks cool on our waist.
I think Dave and I brought this up in the past, but you remember Grove City High School, right? In the cafeteria, they had all the pay phones along the wall on the left?
Yes.
And no doubt every damn day there's girls on the payphones, right? And it's
Yes.
usually the same girls like, who are you talking to? All your friends are in school. They're here. Who are you talking to every day?
I'm talking to a dial tone because I'm pretending to look important. Now, move on.
No, they're talking to their loser boyfriends who are either A, kicked out of school, or B, were in college. Now you're saying, D-Train, why are you calling them losers if they're in college? Because they're dating high school girls. If you're in college, you should not be dating high school girls.
Although the only caveat to that would
Is
be
if you and the girl's been dating and you're a year older and her, you've been dating since you're freshman in high school. Well, either way, these girls weren't, the girls I'm talking about. These weren't the ones that have been with the same guy for 4 years.
No, they've been with a guy every 4 days.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to do right by the world, which can confuse some people. I got solar panels, right?
Yeah, is this one of those stories where no good deed goes unpunished?
No good deed goes unpunished. That is exactly it. One of the things with this company, I'm not going to name names because I got my way in the end and it worked out, but I'm still paying for it, at least in the form of pigeon shit.
That's valuable in some countries.
Hey, they said, I said, hey, we're getting this deal. What about pigeon control? Pigeons are an issue here. It's been all over the news. They're attracted to solar panels for some ungodly reason, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Place their roost. Oh, we'll take care of it if you see them roosting. Okay, we got through all the BS, me arguing back and forth and threatening this and that and whatever.
Did you yell, I demand satisfaction, and smack the phone with a glove?
Pretty darn close.
Challenge them to a duel at dawn?
Close. But, so they get in, they put the pigeon guards up. Pigeons I don't see for about a day. Although there's pigeon shit all in my yard.
What consists of a pigeon guard? And where does one place a pigeon guard? Now keep in mind, most of our listeners, including myself, we don't have solar panels, so we don't know what a pigeon guard is and where. I mean, we can assume we know. The name implies it guards is from pigeons, but what is it? What is it placed, and what's the modality of said pigeon guard?
Okay, the pigeon guard, the way the solar panels sit on my roof is they literally are parallel to the roof. They just kind of sit up about 6 inches, give or take. The pigeons were getting underneath and roosting at night because, no wind, it's nice and high, don't have to worry about cats, et cetera, et cetera. So they came in and they basically put chicken wire all the way around the edges of the panels on both sides, thus keeping them out.
Now, wouldn't a fine, smaller mesh screen have a better appearance than big, gaudy, ugly, large gauge chicken wire?
You can't see it, so it very well could be a small screen. I can't get up there to see it. I've tried to send my GoPro up, and it's relatively invisible from the ground, which the only way you can see my panels is on the street across the road, which is also nice. But so they came back. All of a sudden I'm getting like, why are there 4 or 5 fucking pigeons up there? So I call pest control because I've already ran my luck out and have gone above and beyond with the solar company. He said, well, the problem is if they were already there and you put the pigeon guards up, well, they're homing creatures. So you've now taken them home, but they're still going to come back. So as of tomorrow,
Not to mention the poor helpless pigeons that are trapped underneath your solar panel, slowly dying a horrible death.
well, he did come out for a free estimate and looked at it. He said they did a great job with the pigeon guard. They obviously cleaned up. I saw no nest or anything underneath, but they're still coming in. And tomorrow I will be cutting a big check for them to remove said pigeons. And one of my questions was, so what do you do with these pigeons when you get rid of them? Do you dispose of them?
Sell them to Mike
Or do you
Tyson,
let them-
fool.
Or do you let them? I'm blaming Mike Tyson because he likes his pigeons and he lives in Henderson.
Well, there you
So
go.
maybe some of these are his. Or do you release them somewhere else where they're just going to fly back, thus having more revenue, right?
No, I think there is an underground pigeon racing society, and I think you need to scoop them up and you get on Craigslist and you sell them as high-end, hybrid Las Vegas pigeon racers.
Exactly.
Make some money back. You gotta get money. You gotta get an ROI on that pigeon bullshit.
Yeah, but my roof's covered with crap right now, and I've got to pay for them to remove them and then pay for them to come and clean everything up. Hopefully this will work next. If that doesn't work, I got to get the stupid spikes along the top, and I don't want to do that because it's ugly.
How about large, giant glue traps?
I thought a pellet gun, and I've asked around. And they say, "Oh nope, that's a $500 fine." They look at that as animal cruelty.
Well, not only
And-
that, but you're gonna risk shooting holes in your solar panels.
No, I think I can get up there enough. The solar panels are out of view. I just may be hitting another house.
How
Will
about
not be good.
airsoft? Eh? Eh?
Huh? Nah, they say pellets. There's actually a certain type of pellet you got to use because they evidently got some pretty thick skulls.
Yeah, you got to use varmint pellets. We talked about this in the past. My buddy Zach, he lives on a canal, and we have all these big ass iguanas, and unfortunately the iguanas get in the holes from the erosion in between the seawall and, well, the dirt, and then they start making the holes bigger, which allows more water come in. It causes big erosion, and then like when you had Hurricane Irma come through and the water rises up or goes down, the erosion seawalls start collapsing. And so he got a pellet gun, and he would sit on his lanai and he would snipe iguanas, or he would try. And he ended up investing in 4 pellet guns before he basically had to go out and get a competition grade air rifle and then get the varmint pellet to have the points on them. You can't use the flat ones. You got to use one with the points because he basically, like you were saying, they just bounce off. And so he finally got one that's powerful enough that it'll pass through him, and then he just goes and kicks them into the canals for the blue crab to eat.
Perfect way to dispose. Yeah, I don't have a way to dispose of things around here because digging in this desert isn't good. It's like digging through concrete.
Yeah, John just joined us on Facebook Facebook live stream. He said, hold on, let me bring my mic over here. I heard about the solar panels and problems with the birds in Arizona or somewhere with warmth that comes off of the panel fields attract animals, and then they get fried from the heat, attracting buzzards and then the vultures, which then, while hovering around, blah, 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 they just continue to grow and grow and grow.
Well, that's kind of interesting. To the south of us, actually on the other side of the border, there are 3 solar concentrating plants. And you can think back to like action movies where these mirrors reflect up into this concentrating tower.
Mm-hmm.
Pigeons do fly over them, but there's smoke bombs coming down because the sun is that intense. It's
Let me ask
putting
you
an
this.
ant under a magnifying glass.
If you were a homeless person and you had a affinity for baked chicken, do they fry them enough where they're consumable, or are they just ashes? I mean, could you just go there and collect fried chicken? Baked chicken, baked birds all day and scarf down on them, or are they hotter than that?
It's a good question. Maybe we need to have a sign that says free food this way and guide everybody, all the homeless down the 15 towards state line. Free buffet, all you can eat.
This episode of the Waterman and D-Train Show is brought to you by our friends at Act Computers. Act Computers has been providing IT services for all of Southwest Florida since 2004, providing all your veterinarian needs, your small business needs, your construction needs. They do everybody's businesses. I can't drive around this town and not point to a business that they haven't done work for. If you need two-form factor authentication to help secure your remote desktop and other web-enabled applications, they can help you out with that. If you're concerned about data loss and you're looking for a cost-effective way to back up large amounts of data to the cloud, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the cloud is nothing more than a fancy word for internet, but that's neither here nor there. They can help you with that service. If you're looking for cost-effective, non-resource intensive antivirus programs, which Gordon can contest to, they can offer you that as well. So,
Fantastic antivirus program.
unlike Norton that decides to tell you every time nothing's wrong with your computer, the program we use, Viper, only tells you when you have problems with your computer. It doesn't pop up asking you for more money. It isn't popping up trying to get a pat on the back. It only tells you when you have a problem and you don't know it's there.
And it also doesn't slow your machine down. When I swapped out from AVG to that, it was like a new computer. It was great.
You know, and it's funny you say that, and that's actually how we found Viper. You know, this isn't advertising for CompUSA because they're no longer in business. But when I first moved down here, I worked for CompUSA, and they would sell the antivirus programs that they got spiffs on. For those of you who never worked sales, a spiff is additional money on top of your commission in order to sell an item. It's actually not paid by the company, it's paid by the vendor. And so these salesmen would sell these brand new computers, bring them back to the tech shop, and then they would give us a copy of Norton to put on there, and it would slow the goddamn computers down by 10 to 15% fresh out of the box. And so I was never a fan of Norton. And so then we started giving out AVG free when people didn't want to buy antivirus programs, but we didn't want programs to go away. But AVG started popping up and harassing you, do this, do that, and they start slowing your computers down. And so my business partner and I said, well, how can we get an honest suggestion on a good quality antivirus program? Because no matter what website you go to, once again, they're going to tell you which program's great depending on who's paying them to tell you what program's great. So where do you get an honest, unbiased opinion? You go to Consumer Reports because you're paying for the subscription. They don't get advertisement fees. They get their money through subscription so that they can give you a honest, unbiased opinion about a product. And lo and behold, looking at the stats, Norton was at the very bottom for resource intensive. AVG was right up there, but there's a program at the top called Viper. And so we looked into it, and long story short, I've been reselling it for years. It works great. So anyhow, if you want any of these services, you want to support the show, give At Computers a call, 239-283-1120, 239-283-1120. Now you're saying, D-Train, fella, I would love to help support At Computers, but I live in Grass Lakes, Iowa, not Southwest Florida. How can they help me? This is 2019, fella. It's called remote login. If you're having a problem with your computer, as long as you have internet, we can log in via our website. You want us to log in and install Viper? We can. You want us to log in and set up, the two-form factor authentication? We can. You want us to log in and set up data protection or scan your computer for viruses or figure out why your printer's not working? Any other myriad of issues, they can help. Give them a call, 239-283-1120. That's act-capecoral.com. And while we're getting the plugs in, you can see I have this new sweet-ass Digital 410 Productions shirt on. Now, for those of you who don't know, Digital 410 Productions is the umbrella. That is the group that puts on this podcast, puts on the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast. It puts on the very fine, rare episode of the Failed to Fail podcast and some of the video productions that we're working on. So if you want a sweet-ass shirt like this, the Digital 410 Productions, you can go to d-410.com, click on the link, and not only can you buy this shirt, you can buy the Waterman and D-Train shirt, the Waterman 100 shirt, and any of the WTSP shirts. And every shirt that's up there, we have about three kinds. You have the basic model, which is the type of t-shirt you usually get from a radio station. They work, they tend to shrink. Then you have the next step up that's a little more form-fitting, doesn't shrink as much, and then you have the premium, but they're all priced below $22. The price point reflects the shirt, so if you don't want to pay $22, I think there's a $19 shirt and there's an $18 shirt. What little profit goes off there helps to go support this show and to buy new shit and stickers. Right now we're buying stickers, as we said at the top of the show. So anyhow, the plugs are out of the way, and we do half-ass reviews on here, and we do tech tips and all that. I'm going to give you a tip that I got off of YouTube that works great. So I got a garden tub in this house that I live in. The house was flipped before I bought it. I don't know why I call it a garden tub. I guess the official name's a Roman tub. I don't know, maybe if garden tubs are outside. But long story, a Roman tub, garden tub, it's usually a deep-ass tub in your bathroom. It's built into the floor or the floor is built up around it. You can't get underneath it to the faucets like you can a normal sink. And so the faucets are made a specific way. They have what they call cartridges in them and a spring below them. My hot water faucet has been leaking every time I turn it on. It doesn't sprout like a fountain or anything, but it does have enough water that starts to puddle out and spread out and will slowly get on the floor. I usually wrap a washcloth around it to collect the water, not a big deal. But I was wanting to know how to swap out the faucets, and I was watching a YouTube video. And there's a video of this young cute little 6-year-old girl. She does, basically her dad loosens everything up and then starts the camera up, makes it look like she's doing everything. And then he puts all the words on there. But he said if you have a Delta faucet and it's 2 or 3 years old, call Delta and they will send you the cartridges for free. So I went on Amazon. These cartridges are like $70 a piece. And so I called Delta today, and lo and behold, I got 2 of them on their way. They'll be here in 8 to 10 days. So if you have Delta faucets, and particularly a garden tub, and you have a small leak, there's no serial number on the faucet. They're not going to know how old the goddamn thing is. Just tell them it's like 2 years old, and they'll send you new ones for free. But you didn't hear that here. I'm not trying to tell you how to get around warranty fraud, but yeah. So Delta, props on you for standing by your product. I greatly appreciate it. And
No, that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible.
Fitbit's another company. I'm on my 4th Fitbit, but it's only the 2nd one I purchased. The first Fitbit I bought, within like 2 years, it stopped charging. Called them up. They sent me a new one for free. Had that one for like another 8 months. I had another problem. Called them up. They sent me another one for free. So the first Fitbit that I bought, I went through 3 of them. Then I got this one. Luckily, I haven't had to do any warranty claims on it, but I at least know that if I do, they will stand by their product, which, like you just said, is very rare in this day and age.
Yeah, it is. It's you want to. That actually helps. That goodwill helps generate revenue for them, and good on them for doing that.
Debbie Shade is joining us from Facebook live stream, and apparently she's not paying too much attention because she says, "Call me, Dave. Needing to hang out with my BBFF." There's a couple extra B's and F's in there that I'm concerned about, but as you can see, Debbie, your BBFF is not here. He's out working in towing trucks. So I guess maybe if you run out of gas on the side of the road and call a tow company, maybe he will show up. You can't call him because he doesn't have a phone that works outside of Wi-Fi range. But at least he's out making money. And I can't bust his balls because he's doing the right thing. Apparently, he's taking on these extra jobs because he needs new shoes for the family car. His dad's nice enough to let him drive his car to all his jobs. And the shoes are getting a little thin. The car needs new shoes, and so he's taking on as many jobs as he can because, let's face it, tires are not cheap. And the cheap tires are cheap. They're ugly, and you don't want them on your nice car. And so he's out working to put new shoes on his car so he can continue getting to where he needs to go to get the job done.
No, that's you got to take care of your tires.
Tires and oil change, man. If you don't keep those 2 things, your car will not last.
And you go through a lot of tires down there because of the asphalt, right?
Yeah, they use seashells because I think they just got the sand belt and just pull the shit out of the water. Up in Ohio, I'm sure in Vegas, I know Ohio and Kentucky, they use limestone as aggregate in the blacktop and the concrete. Down here, they use seashells. If you're living down here and you know what the hell I'm talking about, the next time you go to a parking lot or next time you're walking down the street, see, I'm a foot watcher when I walk just because of my low self-esteem growing up. I always stare at the ground. So now at the age of 40, it's just muscle memory. So as I'm walking, I always stare at the ground, and you'll see in our concrete are seashells. They don't use rocks as aggregate. What's aggregate? Aggregate is the material they put in concrete to help hold it together. Think of like putting nuts in your brownies. So they use seashells down here, and seashells are sharp. Anybody's ever stepped on a goddamn seashell at the beach knows that they are sharp. And so my father and mine's hypothesis is those sharp seashells are what wear our tires down, because we've lived in California, we lived in Kentucky, we lived in Ohio and Florida, and it seems, at least to us, that our tires wear down quicker here in Florida than they have anywhere else in any of the continental United States.
Yeah, that does make sense. We don't have that's what they're going to do, is use the aggregate.
Well, you're going to use whatever's local and free. I mean, yes, it's not free because you got to dig the shit out of the ground or collect it, but opposed to importing it from another state and buying it at wholesale cost, yeah, you're going to use whatever natural resources you have available to you to save money.
So what's your thoughts?
John, good point. Car batteries do die down here. I've actually already replaced the battery in my truck, and it's only 3 years old.
You know, that's an issue out here in Vegas. Batteries typically last about 2 years.
God damn, are they expensive? I think
Yes, they are.
for like a better, not even a best, like a better is like $230.
Oh yeah, but what's nice is our dealership. It still falls under the warranty within the first 2 years, so at least you get one free battery replacement out of the deal.
Well, the nice kid at the auto parts store, I won't name because what he told me is he said, come back here before your 3 years is up, and we will make sure that battery's bad and get you the free replacement. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But here's the thing. I learned this the hard way. Some of these newer cars, not even newer cars, this happened on a car that was like 10 years old. This happened like a few years back. It was a Toyota Camry. No, Toyota Corolla. Friend of mine's battery died, right? Dead. I mean, D-E-double-D, dead. There was no jumping it. Okay, I'm a capable fella. I got a socket set. I have know-how. I used to take batteries out and put them back in ambulances, so I can change a battery. Took the battery down, went to the auto parts store, put it back in, fired up that car, and it idled like a polished turd in a bad washing machine. Clunk, clunk, clunk. Long story short, what happens now, because all these cars are run off computers, and I guess maybe the CMOS battery was dead in it, when you took out that battery, it dumped all the settings out of the computer. And luckily, we were able to go on Google Me Fantastic and find the, turn the ignition to auxiliary, step on the brake pedal, step on the gas once, do the Macarena, howl at the moon, and scratch your balls 4 times, and do it in the right, and it loads the default settings, and so we were able to get the car. But by default, just switching out that battery, it causes the car to run like shit. And what I had discovered is if you take it to the auto parts store, they will actually bring one of those computer diagnostic systems out, plug it in, then take the battery out, and then put the new one in, because the computer diagnostic systems maintains those settings while the battery's out. So that's
good. So you don't have to get it reflashed or anything.
So that's a hint for you, fellas. If you're a new up-and-comer and your girlfriend's battery's getting a little weak, yes, you could be a stud and do it in the driveway, or you can jump it if you can and then take it down to the auto parts store and let them change it, because they'll keep the settings in the computers, because, well, computers are computers and they can make life a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the technology, you love it or hate it, or both.
Absolutely. I had an epiphany the other day. I tweeted this, and I think I put it on my Instagram. With the generation that we continuously, and I hear it every day, people keep calling it a millennial issue, but it's not millennial. These are Generation Zs, not the millennials. Millennials are actually technically born in like 79 and 80, so these aren't millennials. These are Generation Z kids. But these are the kids who are constantly getting offended or getting their feelings hurt. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, they find something wrong.
I've got a saying for you that needs to come back. You ready?
Hold on, let me get to my epiphany. Our generation grew up offending adults, and now we're offending young adults. Because first we didn't care what people thought of our music. We'd drive around loud as shit, saying the most grotesque, profane stuff and pissing our parents off, and we laughed at it. And now it's our generation that's pissing off all these young adults, all these 20-year-olds.
We've got the trifecta, and it's an offensive sandwich.
Yep.
On both sides. So the saying,
Yep.
and we've all heard, well, I don't know, the new generation may not, but it's something that needs to be taught again. And it's the simple: sticks and stones may break my bones, but
words will devastate me.
Yeah, well, that's the way.
That's the way they say it. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will devastate me.
Ugh, it's insane.
No, I think what you're looking for is sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And while we're bringing back old slogans, let's bring back the one is, you have the right to say whatever you want. I have the right to be offended by it, but I will stand by your side and fight for your right to say the horrible thing.
It's the only way it can be.
Yes.
It just everything's getting so divided now, and I don't even know who to blame. It's just why. Maybe it's the Russians. It's the Russian trolls.
We don't have to get into it. Everybody's heard the story, but I want credit. I want credit. Rahm Emanuel's an asshole. We all know that from when he worked for Obama. But I want credit. What did this guy right here, who has 2 thumbs, and the night the news story came out that Jesse Smollett made all the shit up, what did I say the city of Chicago should do?
Fine his ass.
Give him an itemized invoice for waste of labor.
Right?
I said that the very night that it broke. I know we got listeners in New York. I don't know if we have listeners in Chicago. I want credit for that shit. because you never hear anybody doing that. You hear it every once in a while when it comes to like, helicopter flights doing, picking up picking up hikers out in the middle of the woods who got themselves in trouble, but you never hear about that sort of thing when it comes to felony or misdemeanor arrest. I said Chicago needs to give him an itemized invoice for the loss of man hours and labors, and that is exactly what they did. And I'll have to pull the tape. I think I may have had the total close. They gave him an invoice for like what, $135,000?
Yeah, 136 and some change.
Did I throw a number out on that episode? I think I may have.
You may have, and I think you were within 10%.
Yeah, I know it was. I said around $100,000 or so. I may have been a little high. I may have lost by Price is Right rules, but not only did I say that very day that they need to give him an itemized invoice and charge his ass. Worst case scenario, if he got no jail time, he needed an invoice. But I think I almost hit the number of what the cost was that day. I'm just saying. I just want a little credit. That's me.
News and shit.
Uh-huh.
I have some news and shit. CCW guys, you gotta be careful. You can't just go shooting motherfuckers for stealing beer.
No. In the
Happened March
state of
20
Florida, you can't shoot motherfuckers for anything except for threatening your life. If
Same
you're
here.
sleeping in your bed and your car alarm goes off and you see 3 assholes breaking in your car and you go outside and confront them with a weapon, guess who's going to jail? Both of you. You're going to jail for brandishing a firearm and looking for trouble. And 2, they're going to jail, but be let out in 3 hours for stealing your car stereo. You can only use your firearm when your life is in danger or if you're at great risk of permanent bodily injury. What's the difference? You're in a fight. You get a black eye or a broken nose. Can you pull your firearm? No. You're in a fight. You're on the ground, and the guy is trying to hyperextend your arm the opposite direction. Yes, at that point, you're risking permanent bodily injury. You can pull your firearm. Broken nose, black eye? No. Hyperextension or someone's trying to actively break your leg on a curb? Yes. Stealing beer? No. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yes, so it has to be a legitimate fear of your life, your family's life, or somebody around you. However, this was March 23rd, March 29th. A female clerk, a 7-Eleven female clerk, shot a man reportedly stealing beer on a Friday morning is being charged with murder, according to police. The clerk is identified as 26-year-old Susa Antoniza Garcia, which is nice. She doesn't fit the normal profile of people who carry a gun. She has been transported to Clark County Detention Center. Here's what happened. There was a guy who ran in that building. He grabbed the beer. He ran out, hopped in a car. Her manager ran out to stop him. He got pushed away. She decided to come out and put a couple of slugs in the side of the vehicle,
Ugh.
which struck
That's so bad.
the robbery suspect and killing him. He later died 15 minutes later.
Let me guess. She was using Full Metal Jackets.
She had to have been, because that's the only way it could go through the vehicle. So she got some plinking rounds in her gun.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay,
Yeah, so,
real quick.
you know,
we're on the subject. I don't want to scare people off the gun talk, but we're here. Let's educate our listeners. John, he's only been here 3 years. He said he thought in no circumstances you could. No, John, every state is different. In the state of Florida, if someone comes inside of your home, yes. If they're outside fucking with your car, no.
And it's pretty much the same here.
Because basically, as far as Florida sees it, you're leaving the safety confines of your home, going outside and putting yourself into danger. Therefore, it's not self-defense. If they come into your home, yes. If they're out having a fist fight in your front yard and you go outside and confront them, if they pull a gun on you, yes, you can pull a gun on them. If they're just having good old fisticuffs and you come out brandishing your firearms, that'll be up to the police officer who comes to determine what happens to you. Once again, now, if that guy's on the ground and they're kicking him in the ribs and possibly going to kill him, then yes, you might be in a gray area. But protecting your vehicle or your neighbor's vehicle, no. You cannot use a firearm to protect private property because said property is insured. You can only use it when your family, your personal body is in risk of death or permanent injury. Once again, black eye, busted nose, no. Broken arm, hyperextended shoulder blade, broken ribs, Yes. Two, the reason we brought up, and I said, Jesus Christ, I bet she was using Full Metal Jackets. If you're old
See,
fucks like Gordon and I, you remember back to the 90s, when everybody was outraged by this new invention called the Cop Killer. That's what they used to call hollow tip bullets, ladies and gentlemen. Cop Killer. Because the assumption was hollow tip bullets would get through bulletproof vests. Not the case. Hollow point bullets sound scary. And this is going to go against everything you think of when it comes to bullets. But I've said on the show before, hollow point bullets are the safest bullets for innocent bystanders. And here's why. When you shoot a perpetrator, a rapist, child molester, whatever evil asshole you have the misfortune of having to draw your weapon on and fire at, because pray to God that if you carry a firearm, you'll never have to use it, because you're the one going to have to live with the consequences. Even if it's a clean shoot, you're the one going to have to live with the fact that you took someone's life. Not stole it, but took it, and heaven forbid you have to live with that.
Their family will try to sue you.
Well, even if they don't, even if they realize their kid's an asshole, no one wants to live with the notion that they took a life. I mean, let's look at all our veterans who are at home suicide. Yes, part of the problem they're having is seeing their friends died and killed, but two, a lot of people have problems, and rightfully so, living with the thought that they took another human's life. Regardless of what the politics and the reason behind it. That's not the point of this. The reason I say hollow points are the most safest bullet for the innocent bystander is because full metal jackets, i.e. solid or plinking ammo, they're usually cheaper. As the name full metal jacket, it's a solid metal tip bullet. So you shoot somebody, it goes through them, and it keeps traveling until it loses velocity. So it could travel through the perpetrator and hit a kid walking down the street. You can miss the perpetrator, go through your drywall, go through the insulation, travel through your neighbor's drywall, and hit them sitting on their couch. If you're using a pistol for protection, you should never have full metal jackets, but if you're using a pistol for protection in an apartment building, you should definitely not have full metal jackets. Hollow tip bullet, once it hits the target, whether it's a human, drywall, plywood, what have you, the bullet collapses on itself. And the easiest way to picture this mentally is take a Skittle, an M&M, a sour Skittle, any hard-coated candy, put it on the table, and press down on it with your thumb. It flattens out and makes sharp edges. That is basically what happens to a hollow tip bullet once it hits the first target. Once again, whether it's a human body or a piece of drywall, it hits it, it shrinks down, it loses velocity a hell of a lot quicker, it tends to tumble, and if it does hit a secondary target, it more often than not will break the skin and cause a bruise, but not hopefully kill them. So the fact that this store clerk shot through someone's car door, it traveled through a layer of metal, a layer of plastic door panel, and then still killed the guy, told me that it was a full metal jacket and not a hollow point, because chances are the hollow point would have went through the first layer, possibly cracked the second layer, and would have tumbled and left a bruise on the guy's chest and wouldn't have killed him. So, if you're going to carry a firearm, do not, under any circumstances, have full metal jackets in your magazine, because if you have to use that gun and you miss your target and you hit somebody by mistake, you are going to have a hell of a time convincing a judge that you're a responsible firearm owner when you have full metal jackets in your concealed carry. So don't do it.
My thoughts is she didn't even have a CCW. It doesn't
Probably
say, but but just her actions just doesn't seem like somebody who's been actually properly trained in firearms. And it is, as of 6 hours, she was fully charged with murder. But I got another one.
Real quick, just because John, he just was asking about the stand your ground law. Now, stand your ground law got a lot of bad rap with the Trayvon Martin thing. People think stand your ground law means that you can just be an asshole and go out and shoot people. In Florida, the reason they made the quote-unquote stand your ground law is that law implies exactly what it says. If you're in a legal situation where you have to pull a firearm to protect yourself from either death or permanent bodily damage, you can stand your ground, draw your weapon, and fire. Prior to the advent of that law, you were required to make an attempt of escaping. I think it was 21 paces. You had to attempt to retreat 21 paces before drawing your weapon and firing. Now, I don't know about you. I can run 3.5 miles, but running backwards, not very good. Turning your back on a perpetrator and trying to run 21 steps and turn around, not a good idea either. That's how you get stabbed or shot in the back. And so prior to the stand your ground law, you had to try to retreat up to 21 paces before defending yourself, whether it was with a gun, a knife, a baseball bat, what have you. Stand your ground does not mean you can go out and shoot people. It just means that somebody pulls a knife on you, you can stand your ground and try to protect your life. Someone pulls a gun on you, baseball bat, hammer, woodchuck, whatever, you can stand your ground. Doesn't mean you have to use a weapon. You can beat the shit out of them, whatever. It simply means stand your ground and you don't have to try to retreat. So let's get off the gun talk and go ahead, Gordon.
On to the next story. As we know, the United States federal government legalized hemp. But there has been an unforeseen kerfuffle.
A kerfuffle?
Kerfuffle.
Does this mean there's a lack of sales in vinyl?
Something like that. So one of the problems they're having now is hemp looks a lot like marijuana.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't produce...
It doesn't have the THC. It's 0.3% or less. That'd be 0.3% or less.
Now, is the hemp, is that the female or the male?
Completely different plant.
Okay.
It just looks alike. Okay. One of the issues they're having is pulling over these vehicles, these trucks that are carrying hemp, and their drug dogs smell marijuana because it's very much like hemp. And then finding these gentlemen who are driving these vehicles, trying to make a living, saying that they're doing interstate transfers of marijuana when in reality it's hemp, and they can't figure it out until after they're in jail and proper testing has been done.
Well, if they can make street drug testing kits to determine if something's meth or heroin on the curbside, don't they have a chemical compound that will determine if something, that they can do the same thing? They put the hemp or the weed in a tube, pour a little magic on it, and it turns blue, it's weed. If it turns purple, it's hemp. I mean, do we not have that technology yet?
Unfortunately, field tests that officers now use can detect THC, but aren't sophisticated enough to specify whether the shipment is legal or low-grade illegal pot.
Well, since we're on the topic of marijuana, I am trying to pull up the story someone sent to me. Give me 1 second. Go ahead and continue the next story while I wait. Go ahead.
Next story, here in Las Vegas, we had a lady fall out of a roller coaster.
Didn't we just talk about this on last episode, what the yearly statistic of fair and amusement park ride accidents were? And
that's exactly what made me think of this story. So according to the Clark County Building and Fire Prevention, they were notified of an injury inside the Adventure Dome at Circus Hotel Monday afternoon. And this was just a couple of weeks ago. I did sit on this story for a little bit. So this woman was hurt when she fell out of the El Loco roller coaster inside the Adventure Dome. According to the county statement, they did not immediately release the severity of her injuries, but thought that. But their thoughts were with her in this difficult time. So unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of information. I think MGM's good at shutting things down.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, somebody fell out, and I'm wondering, because this has happened to me, and you may not have had this because I'm fairly big chested, along with being fat. I went to SeaWorld in San Diego, and we got on this ride called the Mantis.
Is that the same Mantis from Cedar Point?
No, it's not. It's actually, everything has to be lower, so it has lower hills because of the flight paths. But when I sat in it and they put we dropped the harness, mine wouldn't lock. And it kept telling them that it wouldn't lock.
Yep.
And it's just because it was hitting my chest. Finally it went in, but I thought maybe I need to get off this ride.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it was something like that. Maybe this lady was a little bit bigger and everything couldn't fully engage, and maybe there was a faulty sensor that didn't pick up that harness was not working.
It's a possibility. Now back to the harnessing real quick, how that works, because I've ridden many rides. While you're at the station, the harness itself, it works on a ratcheting system. But after they engage the ride and it prepares to take off, at that point it switches over to hydraulic. That's why you couldn't get it to tighten down, because it wasn't getting to the next part of the ratchet. But then all of a sudden it locks into place. That's because it switches from ratchet over to hydraulic. So the ratchet
Yeah, I
basically...
don't think I could get to the first part of the ratchet. It was popping all the way up.
But here's the story I found. Why are states legalizing marijuana for medical use and for recreational use? Because they're trying to fight against Big Pharma. At least that's what some people say. Now, what did Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds do when vaping got popular? First, they tried to fight it, but then they started putting out their own vape products so they wouldn't lose market share, right?
Yes.
Via the website healthyfoodhouse.com, synthetic marijuana approved by the DEA for medicine while the real thing remains illegal. This is according to March 27th, 2019. This does not look like a fake news website. No, that's not a Trump quote. That is a news website that looks real, but it's fake. This looks legitimate. The DEA just announced in the Federal Register that the same manufacturer for the notorious fentanyl has produced a synthetic marijuana product which they believe is more medically valuable and safer than the real cannabis. Namely, the drug Syndrose, a liquid form of synthetic THC, will now be classified as a Schedule II controlled substance so doctors can legally prescribe it. On the other hand, original organic marijuana remains listed alongside heroin among Schedule I controlled substances, meaning it is not currently accepted for medical use as a high it is not accepted as medical use due to the high potential of abuse. Syndrose, made by LNSYS Therapeutics, Lysis Therapeutics, an Arizona-based pharmaceutical company, is expected to hit the market soon. The company, which now intends to take the control over the good old homegrown pot, has been accused of using shady marketing practices to sell Subsist, a spray form of the extremely potent synthetic opioid fentanyl approved by the FDA as a cancer pain treatment. So if you can't beat them, create a fake version and try to circumvent them using laws and the DEA.
Yeah, it's just insane. I don't even know where to go with that one.
Once again, you have something that's fake and man-made that's supposed to be healthier and safer than... Now, I know cyanide's natural too. Don't go down that road. I think it's since the 1960s it's been proven that marijuana is relatively safe. How many ODs do we see? How many times you turn on the news and see a family of 5 was killed by a guy driving while high on weed? Never, because that guy's driving 5 miles an hour. So it won't happen. Real quick, last Wednesday, God, this week has just been going on because I've been working. But anyhow, last Wednesday, my aunt was in town. She was visiting my father. And my father plays in a local Santana cover band called Sanctum Soul. They've been around for a long time, but he most recently joined them as the keyboard player. And they got a kind of a live audition / gig over in outside of West Palm Beach last Wednesday. They're playing at this place called The Venue. Now, this place was pretty damn cool. The only way I can really describe it is it's not a bar like your normal rock and roll bar, and it's not a amphitheater. Think of a music equivalent to a high-end comedy club, right?
Okay.
So you go, and it's a sit-down restaurant. Now, if anybody's ever watched Gordon Ramsay, one of the first things he does when he takes over a restaurant is tell them your menu's too big, there's too much shit. How are you going to specify, how are you going to learn how to make your menu items to the best you can when you have so many of them? Well, this place must live by that because that's one, how you knew it was a fine dining restaurant. They had a very short, simple menu, everything, relatively expensive, but once again, it's a nice sit-down entertainment venue called The Venue. Food was great. They had a nice stage, great sound system. The guy who ran the sound system used to tour with all these big bands. He basically, great sound system. Just so happened that night while they were playing, the Women's Executive Club of South Florida was having some sort of thing there, which was perfect because I'd say 83% of them were in the perfect age demographic for Santana listeners. And so this is the first time the venue had put on a live act on Wednesday. They usually do Friday, Saturdays because they have a 5 a.m. license, so they can actually stay open until 5 a.m. And so they usually have all these cover bands and all these live acts there on Friday and Saturdays playing until the wee morning. Long story short, I went out, watched my dad's band play. Great time. All the chicks from the South Women's Executive Club loved them. Long story short, now they're getting bring back for a Saturday gig. The only problem is the venue's wanting them to play at like 2 in the morning, so they're all trying to figure out how they're going to pull that. But I wish we had a club like that here. I mean, yes, we have your normal, we have the Buddha and the Ranch and all that, but they're just your basic run-of-the-mill bars. And, well, the Ranch is a huge boot scooting, bar with a huge dance floor for line dancing, but they have concerts there and they're great places. But once again, this is more of a high-end restaurant with a stage, much like kind of for those who live down here, think of Off the Hook Comedy Club for comedy, but this is more for music. And it was a great show. It was nice driving over there. It was a 2.5-hour drive each way. I got to spend time with my aunt, got to see my dad do his thing, and it was an awesome time. And kind of like we've been talking, life's short, man. Got to spend it with your family and take care of things. And I usually say that for the end of the show, and I think we are just about there. So we're gonna wrap this up. We will have a show on Sunday. Dave will be back. He's, like I said at the beginning of the show, if you're just tuning in now, Dave's out driving truck tonight. He's trying to make some extra money to buy some new shoes for his car. And just, he's working. Can't harm him. Can't make fun of him for working. I bust his balls a little bit on the video I put out yesterday, but that's before I knew what he was doing. So Dave will be back next week. I want to thank everybody for joining us this week. And life is short, life is hard. Go out, chase your dreams, take care of your goals, and do what you got to do, because one day you may wake up dead. Gordon?
Just seize the day, do everything you can to improve your life every day and those around you, and get it.
And thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. If you want to find any more information about me, check me out on my Facebook page, my Instagram page, my Twitter page. That's a lot of pages. The simplest way of doing that is going to d-410.com. And you can find links everywhere there. And Gordon, where can they find you out on Instagram?
Instagram, Aegis1974. I will be working on getting a public persona with just my first name. I think that's the way to go. We'll see if that works.
And now we're going to take you back to 1999 when I was singing with my band Snowblind. They're still around, but I'm no longer a member. This is me screaming into a microphone back in 1999. Enjoy.